Well, look what just came knocking at my door. Alright, so I went ahead and opened it, and look at all the good stuff we have here. Of course, hardware, some U-bolts, the blocks, spacer, and another spacer. So this is actually the 2.5-inch leveling kit, but they make a 2-inch leveling kit as well that only include these blocks. And for right now, I'm only putting on these blocks to do a 2-inch front level because I don't have tires to put on the truck right now, and I don't want it to look a little weird sitting up that high with little tiny stock tires. So for now, this is all that's going on. Alright guys, good morning. Well, we are about to install the leveling kit onto my truck. And like I said, we're only going to do the 2-inch leveling kit until I get bigger tires, then I'll put the rest on. So according to this, we're going to need 18mm wrench, a 15mm socket, 15mm wrench, 17mm wrench, 21mm wrench, a 7/32 hex key, a flat screwdriver, and a hammer. So, good thing I got all that in there. So this is what it looks like before the leveling kit. And it's supposed to raise the front 2 inches. So, we will see. Alright guys, so the first thing it says to do is take off the shield, which is 4 10mm bolts, and then disconnect the electric power steering, which are these 3 connectors right here. Alright, all 3 electrical connectors are disconnected. They're pretty easy to pull out. There's just a little tab. You pull and then push, and then they just slide right out. I would have liked to have shown you guys, but unfortunately there was just not enough room under here. Alright, so you're gonna want to take off the tire, of course, which is a 22mm. Also, make sure you put jack stands underneath your truck. And now, do the same for the other side. Alright, there we go. Now what you want to do is these 3 strut bolts on top, these nuts, you want to loosen them. You don't want to completely remove them, but you want to loosen them. And there are little connectors on the top, which you just have to pop out. If I could find my screwdriver. Alright, now that we got a screwdriver that's the right size, they just simply pop off. So these three nuts here are an 18 millimeter, and you don't want to completely take them off. You just want to loosen them enough to get you some wiggle room. Alright, now we got these three nuts up on top of the strut loosened. So next, you want to remove this upper ball joint nut that is on the control arm, and you want to take this nut off. Now you're going to want to hit on the ball joint right here to separate it from the knuckle. Be careful not to hit the control arm or the threads on the bolt. Alright, it took a little elbow grease, but it finally separated after about 20 hits. Alright, so next you want to loosen this outer tie rod nut, which is a 21 millimeter. Alright, so we got our tie rod end out now. Had to beat on it a little bit, but hey, it's out. Okay, so the next thing we do is we have to remove the sway bar and the sway bar linkage. So there's a bolt or a nut on the top, and then on the bottom they're both 15 millimeters. What I'm gonna do is put a wrench on the top and then use a socket on the bottom. Alright, there we go. And take this bolt out. There we go. And perfect. Alright, and now you want to remove these two bolts holding the strut into the lower control arm, which these are also 15 millimeter. Then what you want to do is get rid of these clips here. Which you just stick a screwdriver in there and twist. Well, it's kind of hard to do this with one hand. Alright guys, so now we got our blocks here and our hardware, so we'll go ahead and put it on. So the blocks just simply slide in between the bottom of the strut and the top of the control arm, and you just line up the holes. Pretty simple. All right, now that we got it on, we have to tighten it down to 35 foot-pounds. All right, so I got my torque wrench set for 35 foot-pounds now. Go ahead and put a wrench on the bottom. There's one. Perfect. So now we have to put everything back together on this side. Woohoo! All right, let's see if we can get this control arm back in. All right, we got the control arm in now. Next, I will put tie rod in. Go with the lid. And right. So seeing as when you tighten this up, it just spins in there. What you can do is you can actually take a 10 millimeter wrench and a 21 millimeter wrench and tighten it up. we're going to want to torque this. Perfect. Next, we want to tighten down the control arm. So, yep. So, if your nut is spinning, you take a 7/32 hex key, and then you can tighten it down with no more spinning. Alright, well, we got those two in, now we gotta get the sway bar in. Alright, let's see if we can get the sway bar in. Now it is back together. Well, it's all back together, and she's sitting about 2 inches higher in the front. Looks pretty good. As soon as I get some different tires, I'm gonna put on the other part. But for now, it looks better.